it's all about Radiohead.
Wow.
Their endless drone dwells on the maudlin, the misery.
Oh, Stephen, you just shut up.
Quietly wails his disappointment.
Quietly wails.
I'm a creep. Yeah, you are a bit, though.
I am really disappointed. Forgive my fellow vaulters, because they do not know class.
Welcome to the Guardians of the Vinyl Vault. 4 old friends, 1 sacred vault, and a lineup of artists awaiting judgment.
So welcome to Guardians of the Vinyl Vault, the podcast where we debate and decide whether one artist goes into the Vinyl Vault either as godlike geniuses, a bit like ourselves, at the club lounge level, which is sort of like they're just about get in, or whether we ban them for life. This is your Vinyl Vault squad. Stephen Moore, Richard Irvine, Gareth Neal, we're all here tonight. And tonight, I believe we're doing Radiohead. Well, we know where he is, Stephen, don't we?
And in fact, I will reveal very shortly whether I will join him or not. Because you're absolutely right, Rodney. Tonight, it's all about Radiohead. My choice for this episode is indeed Radiohead, but for reasons that I will elaborate on with eloquence, fun, and wit, 3 qualities sorely lacking in Radiohead themselves. I am going to suggest that Radiohead, and I'm not even going to suggest, I'm going to absolutely insist that Radiohead be banned for life.
What?
I am not advocating them
What?
for any sort of entry into the Vinyl Vault.
Oh, Stephen.
And let me explain why.
We can't lead with that.
We can.
Rodney,
Rodney, I think you're fine. You just asked.
Yeah, I'm not changing my mind now.
Oh, man, you disappoint me.
Let me tell you why their dreadfulness should never darken the doors of the vault. Firstly, they're just a bunch of angst-ridden, deeply sorrowful buggers, and they not only know it, they revel in it. OK Computer, Kid A moon-shaped pool, and practically all of their output dwells on the maudlin, the misery, the sadness, again and again and again. I get that we can all be down every now and again, but give us a bit of light relief every once in a while. Morrissey, for example, one of Tom York's heroes, he enjoyed his moments of misery, but he knew how to inject a bit of fun and frivolity once in a while. I give you a vicar in a tutu. I'm a creep, said Radiohead's refrain, and my reply is, yeah, you are a bit, though. My second reason for Radiohead's absolute awfulness, the barriers that I've got with Radiohead, is their sound, or more accurately, their endless drone, their annoyance, a minor chord sonic misery. Whose
Sounds like Stephen to me, Gareth.
Well, thank you very much. But I'm afraid I am not an internationally famous rock star for the wrong reasons. A minor chord sonic misery of awfulness is brought to a crescendo of dullness when Tom York barely opens his mouth and quietly wails his disappointment.
Quietly wails.
There's nothing new or exciting or groundbreaking about their sound. They're just like every other run-of-the-mill early 80s indie band who got their guitars for their birthday and 3 weeks later decided they'd master their craft and unleashed it to an uninspired world. There is a nice little chimey bit, little bit like a music box at the start of No Surprises, and it lifts your spirits. You think, hey ho, this could be a change of form. But no, then Tom York spoils it all by inflicting his latest poem of dirge upon us. And he says, a heart that's filled up like a landfill, a job that slowly kills you, bruises that won't heal. Yeah, thanks, Tom. You got me a little bit excited with the chimey liveliness, and then you've ruined it all. You've extinguished any moment of joy. And that brings me to another point of Radiohead's abject direness. And that's Tom York's lyrics. They're oversimplified, schoolboy nonsense, overreaching, overly trite, overrated. Let me give you a few examples, and you can agree with me if you like. From fake plastic trees, her green plastic watering can for her fake Chinese rubber plant in the fake plastic earth. Yeah, that's great, Tom. I think that's meant to be symbolism, but it escapes me completely. Here's another one from Karma Police. Karma Police arrest this man. He talks in maths. He buzzes like a fridge. He's like a detuned radio.
He was talking about you, by the way.
Well, I don't think that I am the subject for a really good song. I'm more a subject for an excellent podcast. Here's my personal favorite. Let's finish with this one from Paranoid Android. Please could you stop the noise? I'm trying to get some rest from all the unborn chicken voices in my head. Thanks, Tom. Go and have a good lie down. And now, my final rant of the evening, my final plea to you all to join me in banishing any further thought or consideration for Radiohead entering the vinyl vault. And it's this. Radiohead have been lauded to near messiah like status by rock critics for decades. But it's a fake, fawning dance of excitement that rock critics yearning for the next Lennon, for the next Bowie, for the next Morrissey are wont to do. They eulogize the mediocre, getting all worked up over less than nothing in a wanton case of music journos, Emperor's New Clothes. Let me give you some more examples of that as well. The Guardian called a moon-shaped pool haunting and beautiful. Nope. NME called OK Computer the first great art rock album of the 21st century.
No.
Rolling Stone called Radiohead the most consistently adventurous and influential band of the past 25 years. These music journalists can't get out of their own way with their obsequious prattle and false narrative. I will now leave you with a much more accurate quote which sums up Radiohead's banishment. And that quote is from our Lord and Master, Mr. Noel Gallagher, who said the following about Radiohead. And I must admit, I've had to clean this one up rather, Rodney, to save your blushes. I know when I look like I'm about to say a rude word, then you kind of stop me. So I've cleaned it up a bit. But here's Noel's verdict on Radiohead. I'd say my cat is more rock and roll than them. If Radiohead crapped, he didn't say crapped. If Radiohead crapped in a light bulb and started blowing it like an empty beer bottle, it would probably get 9 out of 10 from the rock critics. Noel is right, and so am I. Radiohead should never even sniff the vinyl vault.
Ooh,
Well said,
wow. Gosh.
Stephen. Well said.
Well,
Listen,
yeah, I have
I-
to say, you've
sitting-
totally shocked me.
He's sitting on the fence a little bit, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Well, here's the thing I don't get, right? You could have substituted the name Radiohead and put Morrissey into some of that. And the direction of the argument would have been exactly the same.
No. Morrissey has a bit of life about him. Like whenever Stephen said, first of all, I hate Radiohead. And secondly, whenever Stephen said, I am picking Radiohead, I immediately thought the worst homework I have ever been given. I immediately thought Latin, pointless, a dead language, complete waste of time, and Stephen was going to torture me. But I love his views and I agree with him in totality. I would have, if someone said, if half your audience say, I respect it, but I don't enjoy it, then that's a red flag.
Yeah, bizarrely, they sold, apparently, when I was looking into this, they sold about 20 million albums across the board. So
Mm,
it can only suggest to me that the people that liked being miserable like to listen to miserable music that keeps them miserable. But
It's
listen,
not.
listen, that night when we did the Vinyl Vault, it was 1995, and I was struggling to pick three albums. As you know, I picked the Bends as one of my albums, and I listened to it, and I thought it was okay, but okay isn't going to get you into the vault. I
Is
mean,
that
I tried
okay,
to listen to.
computer?
No,
just okay.
it's
Oh,
it's
do
still
that, do that face again. Well, because what we can do if you do that,
it's
that's
it was I was never into OK Computer, and for me, the Bends is a more listenable album, and I quite like some of the tracks on it, but um, Little Plastic Trees and there's a few other ones, reasonable kind of anthemic, but it was always I wanted to try and like it to pick an album for that year. It wasn't as if it was a go-to. I never really liked Radiohead. I didn't buy any of their albums. It was always a mystery to me why people really liked them. But then Horses for Courses, and I think I know what we're waiting
But
for your.
where's the pleasure? Where's the dance floor filler? Where is
Yeah,
the,
no, but no,
someone picks
Come
up and
on.
goes, oh, I can't wait to listen to it. Or, Rodney, let's go the big question. Did you ever buy a Radiohead album?
Oh, yes, absolutely have. Absolutely did.
why
And
were you conned into
Yeah.
such a thing, Rodney? Try and persuade the rest of us.
but
What are we missing?
I
good
think
question. Good question.
the
Yeah.
thing about Radiohead was at the time when a lot of bands around that period were hyper commercial, right? And it was quite trivial, some of the stuff. What they were first of all a proper band, right? They'd been together since 1985. So and they all are strong instrumentalists, and they grew their audiences organically. It wasn't like an overnight thing. It was gigging constantly and working at it. And we often talk about influence here. Alanis Morissette, Muse, Travis, all have been massively influenced by Radiohead, and they were anti-commercial. I mean, their label didn't like OK Computer because it didn't have enough hits,
No,
right?
but what does anti-commercial mean?
Anti-commercial means that you don't just produce an album that's got loads of number ones or top tens in it. You produce an album which is in itself a concept album. It's a bit more complex. You just don't. It's not going to be something that somebody just goes boom, I love. It's not a chartable album as such. You know,
It's meant to be a grower. Then is that what you're saying?
exactly. It's got something more about it, and I think the thing about them is, you talk about bands changing genres, having an influence, and I was reading about it today, and one of the arguments was that Radiohead redefined what prog rock or progressive rock was. They didn't like prog rock; they redefined it. They brought, if you look at Pink Floyd, for example, right? I can see a lineage between Pink Floyd and Radiohead in terms of the way that they were perfecting their art. And it wasn't progressive rock, it wasn't prog rock, but there was a complexity. There was a almost, I would say, almost a sort of symphony-like nature to their music. So I guess in those early periods, and I have to admit, I haven't. I've got albums up to the late '90s. I think the last album I got was Kid A, and then actually I got Hail to the Thief in 2003. After that, I sort of lost a bit of. I wasn't buying albums. I wasn't even buying CDs, and
Yeah.
I think when we talk about the vault and we're talking about the influence on music and the fact that they took a different route, basically. That to me is why Radiohead should be in the vault. I think they're godlike geniuses, but
So you're
Stephen,
saying they're admirable.
more than admirable.
Or you respect it?
I totally respect it
Yeah, but
because
that's and that,
they took risks And they didn't in that period. You think we had Blur, Oasis? It was all very commercial. It was all very poppy, right? They
Yeah.
didn't go poppy. They weren't there for the poster boy image. They were in it for the art of their music, and
So
all of them
bit
are.
self-important, bit self-important though. Do you not
Yeah.
think?
I take that because there is an element of that sort of university band type thing, an up their own
Yeah.
behind type
Yeah.
thing. I get that, and that's an image thing, right? But I don't I look at it from a musical point of view, and I just sort of think, I actually think if Radiohead were coming from any other country but the UK, they would be much more healed, and
Well,
I think actually. I look at Pink Floyd and I think, well, as I said before, they're very like them. They're very like them, and they may actually not be
Oh,
appreciated as
and
often as
you're
I.
not, you really are not selling it to me
no,
if
definitely not.
with
I
Pink
mean,
Floyd
no,
either.
no, no. Listen, I've grown to like Pink Floyd late in later years, and the reason I like listening to Pink Floyd is every now and again is Dave Gilmour's guitar work, the building of the song, the guitar work just it sings, uh, almost sings like a vocal. It's some of the tracks are incredible, um, but I don't
Well,
get that with Radiohead.
no,
I
I
don't
think
get it.
they're deliberately alienating, and I think then
Mm.
people are following them because they think they're being different.
No,
Deliberately alienating, yeah. It's almost like
They're going out of their way to peeve people off.
I just like the fact that it was a slightly different sound, and it was much more. I guess it was much more thought through music. There was I get the fact that sometimes they could be up their own behind, and they could come across as pretentious. I get that. And I'm not even sure there would be some guys that you want to go down to a pub for, but I
Oh
think
God, no. Oh, I
No.
mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine sat with Tom with a pint, Tom? Oh, I don't know. Oh,
it's Stephen, that makes them almost all the more because they're so anti-commercial, they're anti-pop, they're
well,
anti,
yeah.
you
Well,
know.
there's got to be more to somebody than just to sum up a phrase. I'm going to use a phrase now that Rodney won't be happy with me about, but there's got to be something more than kicking against the pricks. There's got to be something more than just saying we're going to be different. And as a lover of indie music and as a lover of things that are a bit different, uh, as my newly decorated wall behind me says, there's the Velvet Underground, about as different a '60s band as you could care to mention. There's the Jesus and Mary Chain, something similar. But what they did is they brought an energy, they brought a fixation, they brought something that could reach up and grab you by the you know what's. And Radiohead does none
Oh,
of that.
Steve,
It's just a drone.
but the album, the album, the bands alone, is just unbelievable, and it's not a dross. It's not a
No, but
drone.
no, no.
what's unbelievable about it?
High and
No,
dry. You take something like High and Dry,
yeah.
and it's got that little acoustic sort of.
Don't leave me high.
That's
Like
not drone.
no. Like I said, I quite enjoyed listening it for research for that particular year, 1995, I think, and I surprised myself by quite liking it. Then I went on to listen a little bit to the Kid A album, and I thought, no, I much prefer the previous album, and because I had a little bit more melody, and I actually thought it was quite a nice album.
But also, you take something like No Surprises
Mm,
off OK Computer. It is a beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful
No,
track.
no, yeah. There are little bits there that, yeah, it's just
Karma
not.
Police. Karma Police. It's a classic.
Well, like I say, we have got to put a balance here, and like 20 million,
There
20.
is no balance.
No, no. What I'm saying is, Rodney, in your defense, 20 million record sales. You can't deny the fact that people have every right to like what music they like, and
Yeah.
they had a strong following. So, horses for courses.
Undoubtedly. And it's an argument you often use, and you're not necessarily wrong, Richard, when you chime in with record sales or chart positions or whatever. But there is also the argument that says Pete Waterman sold more records in the 80s and 90s than probably anybody else, and it was all universally rubbish.
Oh no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that,
No,
and I think
no.
that's being musical snobbish. If people enjoy, I don't know, Rick Astley or Mel and Kim, we could all hum their songs. And I'm sorry, some of the songs that Stock Aitken and Waterman produced were great pop songs. It was just actually the very basic production. When we
And
look at it now, isn't I don't think's aged very well.
But what is the songs? What is songs? What is albums meant to be? They're meant to be inspirational, thought provoking. They lift your mood,
No, no,
all
no,
pleasure.
no. Thought provoking, innovative, but they not necessarily have to lift your mood, Gareth. You can have melancholy albums, and that's
But
not a problem.
not a full album of it.
I don't know. That's up to the artist, and that's up
I
to the
think
listener.
it's very difficult.
Listen. The average Radiohead fan, doesn't want to be lifted. They want to.
Yeah.
They seem to mix with people. I'm not being tongue everyone the same brush,
I
but
was going to say there's now people watching this going, "I was making a very good point, that chap in the baseball. Wait a minute, what's he telling about us?"
Well, but when people like just self-identify now as a cat or a dog or whatever, Radiohead fans were quite happy to self-identify as being a Radiohead fan.
Yeah.
They loved the fact that they worship them. Now, that's their choice. They may have hated Prince, they may have hated Duran Duran, but they loved Radiohead, and Radiohead sold enough records to strengthen the argument. Really,
I'd be interested to see what other albums a Radiohead listener listens to.
Well, I tell you now, it'll be likes of Muse, it'll be likes of Travis, it'll be the likes of even Alanis Morissette. I mean, these were bands. Yeah, well, Muse and Travis, definitely.
Travis,
Muse.
But Fran Haley could write a song
Yeah.
that you'd be listening to in the car on the way to Tesco's, and you'd be humming it and singing it on the way around.
Yeah.
Writing to
Memorable.
Stephen, what I don't get about this is for somebody who would advocate Morrissey, right? You're now talking about popularness that Morrissey doesn't even define, and the Smiths
there is a humor and an irony. There is a wit with Morrissey that is solely lacking with Tom York.
Yeah.
Say what you like.
I think it's personal, Rodney.
If you let me finish, say what you like, but when there's a song called "Hang the DJ" that people get up in arms about, or they did in the mid 1980s, and really one DJs like Mike Reid or that, it was a funny joke, and you could dance to it. When Morrissey sings about "I was happy in the haze of a drunken hour, but heaven knows I'm miserable now," it's actually quite a jumpy little tune. It was quite fun. "Vicar in a Tutu," "Frankly, Mr. Shankly," "Girlfriend in a Coma." There was a tongue in cheek, and there was a wink, and there was a knowing. Aren't we all miserable? But actually, we're all in on the joke to a certain extent. I can't say the joke that we're meant to be in on with Radiohead.
I'm not sure Morrissey looked at it actually like that. When I saw him being interviewed about Girlfriend in a Coma the other day, I watched on social media, he was saying, well, there are people in a comas, and therefore I feel that there's every reason why we should write songs about them. I mean, he didn't really.
Do you think that he
don't really think
there as well? Then?
I don't think Morrissey really wrote songs with sense of humor in mind. He just wrote songs.
Vicar in a Tutu.
No, but I think he liked to write songs that no one else was writing songs about.
Well, Vicars in tutus.
Listen, if you had a drink with Morrissey and Tom in a pub, I think it'd still be. You'd love you talking to Tom. Would be left out, but I don't think Morrissey would be making you laugh. And then in other ways, if Bono came in, he'd be doing your head in. So everyone,
What you mean preaching?
Well, between you and Bono, who'd get a word in edgeways? That's all I can say.
You can imagine
and
Bono
you know
saying,
what?
Stephen, will you just shut up? I've been with Clinton.
He'd be leaving the bar
I've
thinking,
been with,
that big lad from Belfast knows what he's talking about.
I'll tell you what, I'd pay any money to do that. But anyway, I guess the one thing in defense would be, is would I want to go and sit down in the pub? I often think about this thing of having a dinner party, right? And having people that I would want round the table and it would be entertaining and would be interesting. And I can't imagine I would invite anybody from Radiohead, but that's not the point.
Oh, I thought you were going to build up there to go, oh, I'd love to have Tom.
No, I
Tom,
wouldn't. I
pass
wouldn't.
the gravy.
Well,
Gareth,
exactly. It would have to be, but no, I wouldn't. But it wasn't about that. It is about the music, and I just think, maybe if they were from, I don't know, another country or maybe a little bit more smiley, we might actually be more okay with them. I do honestly believe that generations to come will look at Radiohead and go, "Wow, they were influential. They moved the musical landscape." I really do.
Yeah. Well, I don't like as you talk about sitting in a pub or whatever. Like, if a Radiohead song come on, would you stop? Would you listen? Would it make you smile? Would it? Well, it
Yeah.
might give you
Or
nostalgia
would you
for
just,
horrible times.
or would you
No,
just
not a
have to,
horrible time.
would you just have to endure it thinking, I really have to endure this?
No,
And
I've
think,
never.
oh, wait a minute, there's going to be a little bit where they'll do a twinkly bit on the
No.
guitar. and
I
it'll be
think we
superb.
shouldn't be. Listen, Rodney is obviously a fan, and that's good. Thank goodness he is, because this whole podcast would be very one-sided if he wasn't. So, fair play to Rodney. He likes them a lot. So, and I believe Americans did. There was a certain section in America that they're quite popular in America, weren't they?
Were
Rodney,
they? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think there was some.
Comment below.
Mm.
Were they, from our American
I-
listeners and viewers, or were they popular? I don't
Well,
know.
here's the point. There, this has actually created a nice tension that really means I'm listening. I want I want the Volters to come down and tell us what they think about this. I can't believe, Stephen. I can't believe you. I am disappointed. I am really disappointed. I can't
I
see why
think
you would be advocating Morrissey and not advocating Radiohead. I can't see
You're
it.
not you're not getting the difference then, are you? You're just not getting the
I
difference.
have to say, when I brought it up that year when we recorded 1995 and announced the album, The Bends,
Yeah.
I was flabbergasted with his kind of personal hatred towards
Vitriol, wasn't it?
Vitriol.
Oh, it was nasty.
It was nasty.
All I can say is, Tom, if you ever want to come on our podcast and
Oh, I think I'd be washing my hair that night.
go get your own back on Stephen. I mean, match him basically, Tom York. You know
It
where
is
to
our
find us.
conclusion, and we'll vote very shortly. But I think I am reaching the conclusion that I have swayed nobody's opinion whatsoever.
No, you just disappointed me.
I think Radiohead are the ultimate Marmite band. You love them?
Yes.
Or you're me and Gareth.
Yeah.
And I'm slightly surprised with Richard, who looks like he's sitting on the fence to a certain extent. And I will say this. I think there's a certain amount of, and Richard does this every now and again, sometimes in a good way, but not tonight. I think Richard has a love of music that sometimes he feels that he should pin his badge to something because it's seemingly quality.
No,
What
I was
you-
never convinced. But and I'll start the voting off by saying, if Radiohead came to our vault to the main doors, I'd be saying, listen, you made. I quite liked one of your albums, but that's it. And there's no way you're getting in. You don't even make it into the club lounge. So I'm sorry, you're banned for life. Not my cup of tea.
Oh.
However, if there is a club down the road, down a dark alleyway, and they'll welcome you with open arms, some little gothic kind of weird, not weird, I shouldn't say that, but alternative club, they will welcome you with open arms. But for this, the Guardians of Vinyl Vault, we're saving for mankind. I'm sorry, you're not getting in. That's my
Banned for life, Richard.
banned for life.
I am two things about that. Firstly, slightly surprised, but very pleased that he's gone for Band for Life. And the second thing I'd like to say is I absolutely love the image of Richard at the door as a bouncer. It's only us that know the physical imposing stature of Richard as a bouncer.
Yeah, like, you walk in and just imagine him saying, "No, you're not getting in."
Well,
But
can
And
I?
by
I'm
the
gonna
way,
ba- I'm gonna back him.
if you go to that bar, Kraftwerk are waiting for you, and they've got the first round in.
I
Anyway.
I am going for a full ban, not even in my consideration. The worst homework that I was ever given in my life was actually having to even research Radiohead and listen to anything.
And you know where I'm sitting on this, so that just leaves it for
Can
you,
I-
honey, to
can I-
wrap up by crying
Can I just make
in
an
your
appeal?
beer.
Can I make an appeal to the good people of Abingdon in Oxfordshire? And I'm going to go down there very soon because
Is that
I'm
where
going
they're
to.
is that where they're from?
They're from there. I'm
Oh,
going down
yeah.
in that area because I'm going to Truck Fest this summer. But all I can say is, Ed, Tom, Colin, Philip, and Johnny, forgive my fellow vaulters because they do not know class. You're class in the glass. You're up there. You're not banned for life. You're not even club lounge.
No, I think
Oh, wait a
technically
minute. No, he's wait for it. He's proposing where he would put them. Go on.
You are godlike geniuses. You're platinum level,
Ooh, platinum.
and I will be playing some of your stuff on my show on Friday.
so
Just
he's got a plug in for his radio show now as well.
Yeah.
so, Tom, you want to listen in? You can phone in as well. 2:00, late lunch show. We're on that show. But there you go. Anyway,
So
I have to
three
say
bands, one.
That's it.
I like them.
I can't recall, but I suspect this is it wasn't a universal decision. It is a majority decision. We're not a dictatorship here, but we have decided. Off you go. Band for life, Radiohead, never
Or
darken our door
a
again.
Sesame
Vultures.
Street said one of these kids is doing his own thing.
Bolters, class in the glass. Get voting for them. I'm depending on you. All right, guys, that's it. Then the Guardians of the Vinyl Vault. The vault is well and truly closed.